42 days, 6 weeks, over 1,000 hours. And tonight, not a single person on this earth has stepped forward to claim $1,200,000 in reward money. Let me say that again. $1.2 million sitting on the table, and nobody has moved. Not one call, not one tip, not one name. That silence is not random. That silence is telling investigators exactly what kind of person took Nancy Guthrie from her bed in the dark hours of February 1st, and exactly why this case is unlike anything that has happened in this country in years. I'm your host. You're watching The Last Trace, and today is day 42. The day the FBI walked back into a Mexican restaurant and started asking questions about a Today show segment filmed months before Nancy ever disappeared. Stay with me. Every detail in this episode matters. Before we get to what happened this week, let's remind ourselves who Nancy Guthrie is, because behind every case number and every press conference, there's a real woman. Nancy Guthrie is the mother of Today show co-host Savannah Guthrie. She lived in a quiet neighborhood in the Catalina foothills area of Tucson, Arizona. She was 73 years old. She had been battling health challenges. And on the evening of January 31st, 2026, she had dinner with her daughter Annie and Annie's husband, Tommaso Cioni. They dropped her home. They said goodnight. And when family tried to reach her the next morning, February 1st, she was gone. What investigators found inside her home was not a mystery. It was a crime scene. Bloodstains confirmed to be Nancy's. Multiple ransom notes demanding cryptocurrency payments with 2 separate deadlines, both of which passed without resolution. And a doorbell camera that caught something chilling. A masked male, approximately 5'9" or 5'10", wearing a 25-liter Ozark Trail hiker backpack and a holster, moving across Nancy's porch in the dark of night. That masked figure has never been identified. Not publicly. Not after 42 days. Now pause here and ask yourself this, and I want you to drop your answer in the comments below. Do you believe someone is protecting this person? Because the FBI does. Here is one of the most quietly significant developments in this entire investigation, and most people missed it. The FBI returned to El Charro restaurant in Tucson, considered the oldest family-owned Mexican restaurant in the entire United States, and began asking staff a very specific question. They wanted to know whether anyone in that restaurant looked suspicious on the day Savannah Guthrie filmed a Today show segment there in November 2025. Let that sink in. November 2025. That's roughly 2 to 3 months before Nancy disappeared. Investigators are now working backward through every moment Nancy appeared publicly on camera, every location, every face in the background, every angle that was captured. They are asking, was someone already watching? The segment in question was a warm, intimate one. Savannah sat down with Nancy and her sister Annie at El Charro. They shared a meal on camera. And Nancy, speaking about why Tucson had become her home, said something that still resonates. It's so wonderful. Just the air, the quality of life. It's laid back and gentle. Those words are devastating to hear now, because the world Nancy described, laid back and gentle, was shattered on February 1st by something calculated and violent. The FBI's return to El Charro tells us something critical. This is an active, expanding investigation. They're not sitting still. They're chasing every shadow, reviewing every frame of footage, asking questions that most people would not think to ask. And the fact that they went back to a restaurant where Nancy was filmed months earlier suggests they believe the targeting of this family may have started long before February. Think about that for a moment. And while you're thinking, if you have not yet subscribed to The Last Trace, hit that subscribe button right now. We cover every update on this case as it breaks, with facts and nothing else. One of the most confusing and disturbing aspects of this entire case is the reward money. The Guthrie family posted $1 million. On top of that, additional contributions brought the total to $1.2 million. And in 42 days, not a single person has called to claim it. For most people, that number is life-changing. Generational wealth. A complete reset. And yet, silence. Retired FBI Special Agent Steve Moore stepped forward this week with what is arguably the clearest, most honest explanation anyone has offered yet. And I want you to hear this carefully, because it changes how you see this entire case. Moore said, "The most likely reason no one has come forward is that the only people who have real knowledge of this crime are people who are themselves culpable. In other words, the people who know what happened to Nancy Guthrie are the people who did it, helped plan it, or helped cover it up. There is no innocent bystander sitting on this information. There is no neighbor who saw something and is just too shy to call. If there were, $1.2 million would have brought them forward weeks ago." Moore's assessment suggests this was a tightly sealed operation, carried out by people who understood exactly what they were doing and who have not breathed a word to anyone outside their circle. And then Moore said something even more sobering. If Nancy is no longer alive, and he did not speculate either way, there is simply no good deal available for an accomplice who comes forward now. The risk of self-incrimination is greater than the reward. So they stay quiet, and the clock keeps moving. Does that theory make sense to you? Drop a comment. I read every single one. On March 13th, 2026, Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos appeared on the Today Show and spoke with NBC correspondent Liz Kreutz. And what he said should concern every person watching this, not just residents of Tucson. When Kreutz asked him directly, "Sheriff, could this suspect strike again?" Nanos did not hesitate. He said, "Well, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, criminal minds are criminal minds." He also confirmed something that investigators have been careful about before, that they believe they have a theory of motive. They believe the attack was targeted. They believe they know why Nancy Guthrie specifically was taken from her home. But he stopped short of sharing those details publicly, and his reason was important. Because investigators are not 100% certain yet, he refused to tell the public they are safe. He said, and I want you to hear this directly, "Don't think for a minute that because it happened to the Guthrie family, you're safe." That is a sitting sheriff telling the people of his county that the person responsible for this crime could be looking at a new target right now. Nanos also revealed two new details that had not been confirmed before. First, investigators are examining a possible internet or electrical disruption that occurred on the night they believe Nancy was abducted. There was a window of time when things went offline in the area. Power companies were contacted. Neighbors were checked. Right now, they do not believe a damaged utility box found near her home is connected, but they're still investigating it. Second, DNA. Mixed DNA was found at Nancy Guthrie's property. Lab analysis is still ongoing. But Nanos expressed hope. Absolutely, that's going to get us to somebody, we hope. Now let's talk about something that has been swirling around this case. A significant disagreement between two prominent journalists and what it tells us about the investigation. Back in early February, former NBC correspondent Ashleigh Banfield went on her podcast, Drop Dead Serious, and made a claim that sent shockwaves through the media. She said she had a source she described as impeccable, a law enforcement insider, who told her that Tommaso Cioni, Annie Guthrie's husband and Nancy's son-in-law, is, in her words, maybe a prime suspect in this case. Banfield doubled down in the weeks that followed, saying her source confirmed she was, quote, over the target. This is important context. Tommaso Cioni and Annie Guthrie were the last people to see Nancy alive. They had dinner with her on the evening of January 31st and dropped her home before she was abducted. In any investigation, the last known people to see a missing person are naturally examined by investigators. That is standard protocol and does not imply guilt. Media commentator Megyn Kelly has taken a very different position. On her SiriusXM show on March 12th, Kelly said she had confirmed from her own sources that Savannah Guthrie is furious. Her word was livid about Banfield's reporting. Kelly said Savannah absolutely does not suspect her brother-in-law, and she genuinely does not believe Cioni had anything to do with what happened to her mother. The visible evidence of that family solidarity came on March 2nd, when Savannah, Annie, and Tommaso were photographed together outside Nancy's home, laying yellow flowers at a makeshift tribute, leaving a personal note, presenting a united front to the world. 1 week later, Savannah flew back to New York after more than a month in Tucson. A Today spokesperson confirmed she plans to return to the show but has not set a date. Here is what I want to ask you directly, and I genuinely want your thoughts in the comments. When you look at this case, at the reward that hasn't been claimed, at the tight circle of knowledge the FBI believes exists around this crime, what does your instinct tell you? Who is at the center of this? The Pima County Sheriff Department released a formal statement this week confirming that investigators are continuing to analyze multiple forms of evidence. Laboratory materials, images, and video footage captured by cameras in and around the area. They're also making a specific, direct ask of the public. If you live or were present within a 2-mile radius of Nancy Guthrie's Catalina Foothills home anytime between January 1st and February 2nd, 2026, investigators want your footage. Doorbell cameras, ring cameras, dashcam footage, security systems, anything you saw that seemed out of the ordinary, even if it felt minor at the time. A vehicle, a face, a pattern of movement, something parked where it shouldn't be, something that didn't feel right. If you have anything at all, the number is 1-800-CALL-FBI. Please make that call. 42 days. No arrest. A reward that no one will touch. A suspect who may still be free and may still be dangerous. And a family that drove to a memorial outside their mother's home and laid yellow flowers in the dirt. This is what The Last Trace is here to do. We follow these cases not because they're entertainment, but because real lives depend on real people staying informed. Nancy Guthrie is someone's mother. She's someone who looked out over the Arizona sky and called it gentle. She deserves justice. And every person watching this video is part of keeping this story alive. If this episode gave you something, a new detail, a new question, a moment that made you stop and think, then do one thing right now. Like this video, so the algorithm pushes it to someone who might have a piece of information they don't even know matters. Subscribe to The Last Trace so you never miss an update on this case. And leave a comment below. Tell me, do you think the reward will ever be claimed? Do you think investigators are closer than they're letting on? I read every comment. Everyone, the search for Nancy Guthrie is not over. And neither are we. This has been The Last Trace. Stay with us.